Test, test. We are live. Well, on YouTube, we're live. On the podcast, we're not live. Or if you're watching this later on YouTube, we're not live. It's Josh from Solopreneur Grind. It's the SG Daily number 68 for Wednesday, July the 10th. Hope your week is going well. And what I want to talk about today, very top of mind for the day, very top of mind for the week, is managing your professional life as a solopreneur. And there's a few reasons. Number one, it's hitting me hard right now. Number two is if you listen to my content, if you read or watch my content, you know that I don't like to really cover the surface level stuff. Like if you want to learn how to do sales or marketing or accounting or whatever, you just go on Google, you can go on YouTube and type in, how to get more sales. And there's unlimited content about that stuff. The things that I like to talk about, I think, are a little more abstract, things that there might not even actually be a right answer for, but things that I can tell you that I'm trying, that have worked for me or that have not worked for me, so that we can figure out this whole mystery that they like to call solopreneurship. And so I think this topic is another one of those that fits into it, which is how do you manage your professional career when there's A, no one telling you what to do, B, there's no real script written on how to do it, and C, you have a whole bunch of stuff going on that isn't necessarily related to the same business. So to give you some context, as you know, I operate my own firm here up in Canada, pretty niche immigration law firm, and it's going well, and I'm trying to grow from 1.5 to 2, basically, people. So I was working by myself for about a year and a half, and in January I brought on a part-time VA to do some minimal admin stuff, and I just brought on basically a contract lawyer to help take on some of the client work for the first time. So adjusting to that, trying to bring in more sales to make up for that extra paycheck that, well, not a paycheck because it's contract, but trying to adjust how I work, knowing I have this additional resource, and as well SG continuing to pump out content. I want to kind of up the value of the content. I want to keep growing my email list. I want to, make YouTube content that's even better and better and keep growing followers. And then I'm flirting with some immigration technology as well with some other potential partners because I really love tech. I would love to build some type of tech company one day. My domain expertise is now in immigration law, and I think there could be a lot of overlap there. So inevitably what happens is you start doing all this stuff and then you don't have as much time in the day and you don't even know which ones to prioritize, right? Because each one is at varying levels of success. My firm is doing well. It pays all my bills. SG is more fun, but it doesn't pay any bills. And the tech stuff has a ton of potential to pay lots of bills, but it's still in the early stages. So they're like at different levels. Which one do you put more time towards? I don't know. I don't know if there's a right answer, but I had a call with my business coach, Sean, who was actually a guest on the SG podcast. So if you're interested to know a little bit more about my coach and our interaction and his background, there's actually a really interesting episode 40 of the SG podcast. Just go on solopreneurgrind.com/podcast and check out episode 40. Anyways, what Sean suggested and what I wanted to briefly mention today is basically a dashboard for your professional career, right? So when you think about dashboard, it's kind of like this fancy screen and it's tracking certain values. It's measuring certain indicators. And what Sean recommended, which I have since implemented, is to pick some basically KPIs, like key performance indicators, or what we call them health indicators for each thing I'm working on, so that I can keep tabs on them. And what I did as well is I added for each one kind of like an input that I can kind of look for correlations with the health indicators. So let me try and make this more obvious. So for example, for the law firm, some KPIs, some health indicators that I've chosen, the two main ones are billings per month, so how much revenue I'm billing per month. And number two is number of clients billed per month. And so the first one's fairly obvious, like how much revenue is the firm bringing in? And the second one is how many clients am I relying on for that revenue? So if that number stays very low, 1, 2, or 3, I might be a little bit concerned. If that number is higher, 4, 5, 6, then I'm in a good place because I know I have files ongoing with multiple clients. I'm not reliant on 1 or 2 big clients to make my paycheck. And then the third one is number of hours of work outsourced. And so that is something I have more control over, right? So I can keep an eye on, well, maybe I'm not outsourcing enough, or maybe I can now see every month, the more I outsource, the more my revenue is actually going up, or the more clients I'm bringing on because I have more time to do more sales efforts. So first 2 are more objective. They're just happening. I'm measuring them. The third one is subjective and controllable. So for SG, the things I'm measuring, I'm not measuring revenue because I'm not making any revenue with SG. I don't have any products or services. You can't go on my website and buy anything. So my measurements are YouTube and email subscribers is number 1. The second, actually, I don't even remember what the second one is. Let me pull it up here super quick for you because it's just a quick click. The second one is podcast downloads. Now, that's not an ideal kind of health indicator. I'd rather have podcast listens, but the tracking can't tell me how many people are listening. It just tells me the number of downloads. So email and YouTube subscribers, number 1, podcast downloads, number 2, and number 3 is pieces of content posted per week, right? So the first 2 are objective. I just look, I get the data, I plug it in. The third one is something I can control and kind of correlate back to the first 2. So maybe after a few weeks, I'm going to see that quite clearly, the more times I post per week, the more subscribers I'm getting, or the more downloads I'm getting, whatever it may be. And then I have a third section as well dedicated to the new tech idea that I'm working on. But for the purposes of the length of this video, I'm not going to go into more detail. I think I'll go into more detail on how I'm going to kind of implement it and use it on Friday. But for right now, what that has done is it's put this, I don't want to call it a mess, but this smorgasbord of all these things I'm working on, it's put it into a trackable, measurable spreadsheet where I now feel like I have a little bit more control. I can keep an eye on everything. I can adjust as needed. And I can see results, right? That's one of the most important things as a solopreneur that I've found is if you go weeks and weeks and you're not tracking anything, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants, it's easy to get caught up or down on yourself or lose motivation. When you have the numbers, when you have the data, it puts everything in perspective and it'll lead to making better decisions. So that's it for the dashboard today. I will probably go into more detail on it on Friday. Hopefully you've found some value in it. If you don't have one yet, I highly suggest it. I'm just using a Google Sheet, super simple. Maybe I'll try and do like a screen share on Friday if you're watching on YouTube. Or if you want, shoot me a message and I'll send you it. I'll just shoot you an email. Anyways, if you don't already, make sure to subscribe on YouTube so you can see when I post these 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're not subscribed on the podcast, if you're listening to this right now, I highly recommend and would appreciate a subscribe. Join the email list if you're not on it, and I'll see you on Friday. Have a good day.